Welcome to another segment of Cielo Spiritual Foundation's podcast show, and it is called Inspiring Interviews, and you will now see why. Such an inspiring guest on our show. We have today the most amazing soul I've really run into in a while. Like, seriously, such an amazing work you're doing today, and your story, very sensitive story, so be ready, be comfortable. I actually would love to start with a meditation, but first, without ado, I will let you know a little more about Sonny if you haven't already read about this. Sonny Von Cleveland is a celebrated author, motivational speaker, and founder of Von Cleveland Foundation. It is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to empowering marginalized communities and at-risk youth through personal development programming. With a life story that exemplifies transformation, Sonny rose from a childhood marked with trauma and 18 years of incarceration to become a powerful voice for hope, resilience, and redemption. Through his book, Hey White Boy, Conversations of Redemption, and his compelling speaking engagements, Sonny has inspired audiences nationwide to overcome adversity, embrace their true potential, and rewrite their narratives. His work focuses on breaking cycles of incarceration, building self-confidence, and empowering individuals to take control of their lives. A mentor, a coach, and advocate, Sonny dedicates his life to helping others unlock their inner strength and discover the path to a brighter future. His dynamic energy and relatable storytelling make him a standout podcast guest who leaves audience inspired and ready to take action. And I'm just so very blessed that, he's taken the time to come in today and to really share his personal journey. So that said, hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here in this warm, meditative environment. It's so peaceful here. I love it.
Thank you. So let's start with a meditation. Speaking of meditation, so even though my intro had a little, let's close our eyes, drop down into your divine loving, your comfortable place within, and let's breathe in, oxygen regenerating every cell of our being, just feeling into the moment of now. It's always so good to just feel the now and really allow yourself to be present and aware. Energy, love, and then just releasing out the mouth, dropping down into that grounded, centered place we get to on the exhale. Lovely. I like to always have a mental note of that when I get uncomfortable, which sometimes some stories can bring some discomfort at times. You just feel into that and let the feeling move through you, and remember that you can bring back and go back center to our, divine loving, to that safe space that within all of us. And that there are resources we're going to talk about being made available, not only just through your book and the workshops you're doing for people now, but, conferences that are now being made available, celebrating recovery in and around this topic, and this area of recovery being made possible now for so many people, thank God, and a message that is so desperately needed, because I know especially for men, they have this idea maybe that they're not supposed to not like it if they're violated in these ways without and that just turns into rage, as we know, if we don't address it. And that's, that can be really challenging. So the faster we can, get education out there, get people aware and know, hey, listen, you need to have.
Well, there's a huge social stigma around men. Right. embracing their emotions, expressing their feelings, talking about their trauma and overcoming it. And it's sad because that's what turns into rage. Like you said, the suicide rate amongst men is so huge and is disproportionate as opposed to women. Women, I think, are more comfortable talking about trauma and emotion and feelings, and men have this bravado that we're supposed to put on. And I'm out to help try to smash that stigma to let people know that it doesn't make you weak. It actually takes a lot more strength and bravery and courage and self-awareness to be able to embrace the trauma that you've been through and talk about it. And the best part about that is that we inspire other men to do the same. So
we're women, I mean, for
sure. I mean, you're definitely inspiring women as well. But that's I think it's one of the main things that I focus on is helping everybody deal with their trauma that they've been through, to know that there's a relatability factor that exists with 90% of people. The Healing Voice workshop that I do exposes the fact that almost everybody in the room, 99% of the people, have been through trauma.
Right.
And so then once we hit that level of the workshop, people are like, oh man, I'm not the only one.
That's right. Yeah.
And that relatability factor puts people in a position of comfort where they're comfortable sharing what they've been through.
So speaking of relatability, would you take us through a little journey of your story?
Sure. I grew up in Michigan, small town in Michigan. At the age of 5, I started to be molested. Turns out it's more like 3. That's when it started, but I don't really recall that. But my uncle was the first perpetrator that started to molest me when I was 5. I had a typical single mother household in small town Michigan. We would go to my grandma's house for every holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, all those, and all the cousins, aunts and uncles, everybody got together, and I mean, it was a pretty normal existence. And then my uncle started to molest me around the age of 5, and I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. He would threaten me all the time and would say, hey, if you tell anybody, I'm going to hurt the whole family. It's going to hurt everybody, and you don't want to do that. This is our little secret. And he would entice me with an Atari system that he had, a video game. And I was obsessed with the video game. I thought this was just really cool. There was a game called Pole Position. And I was just really into that. And while I'm playing the game, he's, molesting me. And I was kind of able to just kind of block that out. I didn't really realize what was happening. I mean, I'm 5 years old, so I don't really understand what's going on. But then, I didn't want to hurt anybody too. I was this very gregarious and outgoing child. Yeah. And I didn't want anybody to get hurt. I didn't want my family to get hurt, and I didn't want him to get in any trouble, and I didn't want to get in any trouble. And then there's the shame and the embarrassment that goes with it. But at that age, you don't really understand those concepts.
Like maybe some disassociation going on?
Sure. I mean, I don't
distracting yourself.
I don't understand at that age what's actually happening. Okay. Children want to please everybody. Right? They want to please mom, dad, uncles. Right. And so it carried on for a few years, and internally, it wasn't very long after that. A couple months after that, I started to be molested by my mom's boyfriend. And then another friend of the family, Tim Klinger, Daryl Hall, all these guys started to molest me. And I mean, I don't know if it was a secret pedophile ring or that they were communicating, or if there was just a big banner on my head that was like, hey, this kid's touchable.
I hear you. So when it comes to energy, they say, this is what I've seen and experienced, if we don't work through whatever energetically happening, sure, it just repeats itself. It's sort of sure, like it attracts the same thing until we work through it. Sure. Whatever that looks
Even
like.
At the age of 5 and 6 years
so it's
old,
not,
I'm
it's like,
still...
Not to be confused with
right,
like we're somehow a magnet for that on any level, but sure, like the thing is, the lesson is being made available, and until, unfortunately, sure, the opportunity.
Well, there's poor oversight on my mother's part, and I'm
sure,
it turned out that they had knew about this when I was 5, and instead of persecuting him or prosecuting him, they just swept it under the rug and got him some mental health treatment, and I was no longer allowed to go upstairs.
That's just it.
but we still go to grandma's house. And so that I would never take my 5-year-old back into that environment, period.
Sure.
And there's no, but that's neither here nor there.
Did you ever discern if she has had trauma in her?
Oh yeah, my mom had her fair share of trauma.
Seems it always says that.
Sure,
right?
and it's a cycle. My uncle was the same way. My uncle was raised by my grandpa, and my grandpa molested him most of his life. And
so really, people just learning what they learn and passing it on.
But
right?
that's not an excuse,
Absolutely
right?
not,
I've been molested by tons of dudes. I've never touched a child in my life.
I would agree.
Right? So it's not a fact that you have to be that way. The chain doesn't have to continue.
No.
But it's also a side effect of men and women not dealing with their trauma. So my uncle obviously never dealt with what was happening to him, and so it turned him into who he became.
Yeah.
And so when I was 7 years old, I broke into a church. My brother and we broke into a church. It was unrelated, but we saw a bunch of Catholic kids playing around a Catholic school, and we couldn't be involved. We weren't Catholic. And it was over. We went and we broke into the basement and stole some playing cards and some pudding cups, and we went across the street to the baseball field. We were playing with it, and we got arrested. The cops came very shortly after. We weren't very good criminals, and they arrested us and charged us with felonies.
Oh man!
I was 7 years old. This is 1988. And they charged me with a felony for breaking and entering and larceny from a building.
Yeah.
And I was put on probation for 60 days. And when I got put on probation, all the men that were molesting me went away. They stopped coming around. Clearly, we can look back and say, okay, of course they're not going to want to mess with a kid that's in the eye of the law. And so when I got off probation, it was open season. They started coming back. I started getting molested again.
Wow.
So in my young mind, I developed this, like, wait a minute. Here's a way to protect myself without getting anybody into trouble, without ruining my family. So I went out and I broke the law again. And I got put back on probation. And they all went away. And so I developed this cycle. And by the time I was 15, 16 years old, I had 12 felonies on my record, and the judge was, I don't know what to do with you anymore, right? Like, because I'm also this kid I'm not using my voice. I'm not telling them what's going on. I told on my uncle when I was 10, and he had ultimately ended up getting arrested and sent to prison for 15 years. And then a couple of the other guys I told on as well, but I don't know if they ever got prosecuted or whatever happened to them. I don't know. They were just gone one day.
Yeah.
But here I am, this very angry young man. My brother had gotten taken away when I was 12 years old and put into juvenile detention. So it was just me and my mother and all her myriad boyfriends that she had. And I had stolen some money from my school when I was in 10th grade. I got caught smoking weed, had to do a drug class. I was in the office, and I stole a couple $1,000s out of the safe. And that was the last straw for the judge. And the judge.
And I just like, when you are doing these, acts of like criminal whatever activity, do you consciously know, like, hey, I'm gonna do, like, your intention was like, I want to make sure, like, I get these people off my back, or was that on a subconscious level? You just kind of survived that?
And I wasn't aware of why I was doing it. So even when I'm getting into trouble, my mother, the therapist, the psychologist are all, why are you doing it? And I don't know. That was always my answer. I don't know. Obviously, I'm hiding behind the trauma. I'm blocking the trauma out, so I'm not even understanding that this is why I'm doing it. And
it's an innate survival mode.
Right, and so it had its effects on me. And so when I was 16, the judge sent me to prison, and he gave me 2 to 5 years in prison, and I had no idea what that was. I'd never been taken away. I mean, I went to a foster home for a couple of weeks. I've gone to a non-secure detention facility once, but I never was taken away. And so here I am, 16, you're gonna go to prison now. And I'm like, full-blown prison? Like, yeah. So they sent me to a level 4 Thumb Correctional Facility in Lapeer, Michigan. But before that, I went to quarantine.
How many levels are there?
There's 5. So level 1 is the easiest level. Level 2 is more medium security. Level 3 doesn't even really exist, but it's for those intermediates. And level 4 is max security, and level 5 is IMAX. So that's the worst you can get. I mean, there's a very rare level 6, but it's like super max. Because of my age, I had to go to a level 4, which made no sense. So I went to Riverside Quarantine in Ionia, Michigan. And the first week I was there, 2 men ran in the cell and they raped me at knife point. And I had no idea how to deal with that level of trauma, right? My life had been filled with molestation, so I was kind of used to abuse, but this was on a more violent level. Like, this was a knife to my neck, head on the bunk, and I snapped, right? And I thought to myself, like, this is going to be my life if I don't do something. And so,
does this happen a lot in jails?
it's more prevalent. I mean, it's not so much prevalent now, but it was pretty prevalent back then. They since brought in the PREA Act, which is Prison Rape Elimination Act.
Oh, really?
And PREA, and so that, I mean, there's a lot more oversight. It still happens, but not so much.
Okay.
And so I snapped. I grabbed up a handful of pencils and I wrapped a shoestring around them, and I ran across the hall and I stabbed the guy in the face.
Wow.
And I felt like redemption in that moment. I felt power, I felt security, I felt safety, and I knew that this is how I was going to survive prison. And everybody else around did not know what they had done to me. They just saw this crazy white guy ran across the hall and just stabbed the hell out of this guy. And so I started getting recruited by the gangs at that point. They came in, they were like, dude, you're a down-ass guy, man. We want you to come roll with us. And so I joined a gang, and one of the first things you do for that is to prove yourself. You've got to go stab this rival gang member. So I went and stabbed this guy, and next thing you know, I've got a lot of respect around here, and I'm like, this is how I'm gonna survive. And I became this monstrosity of a human being that I didn't even know that I was gonna become. In my pursuit of safety in this environment, I ended up becoming this horrible human being. I joined this gang. I got all these tattoos as a protection mechanism, because I was this very young, skinny white kid, and I knew I had to look tough. And so I grabbed a hold. Half the tattoos don't even mean anything. They just slap them on there. I need tattoos. Got my hair cut, and I looked like a gangbanger. And I spent the next 5 years in that prison, just rife with gang activity. I mean, I got sent to a private prison in Baldwin, Michigan, and it was all gang warfare. I mean, I didn't know if I was going to die by the COs or die by the inmates.
Wow.
And then when I was 21, they came and opened the doors and was like, here's $75 and 3 condoms. Good luck.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, awesome, I got this, let me out. And I was so disassociated from any type of normal life. At this point, I'm this maniacal human being that my sole goal in life is to be Scarface. Right? Like, I blame the world for everything that happened to me. Like, who allows this to happen to a child? Who puts a 16-year-old in prison? Who lets all these things happen?
Right. And what about addiction? Is there drugs in
Not
jails?
yet. No, they're there, but I mean, they were never exposed to me at that point. And so I had heard about it, and obviously you know there's a lot of drug dealers, and then there's a lot of drug fiends. So you meet them both, and you hear about it, but I'd never been exposed. The most I'd ever seen is like weed and acid in my life. Right? I smoked a lot of weed when I was younger. I tried acid a few times, and it didn't do anything to me. So I was like, well, I'm over it. But then when I got out, I was 21, and I was a train wreck of a human being. I robbed somebody the first day I was out. $75 isn't going to last you long. And I thought that this was my way of protection. It was so ingrained into me to be this violent, acerbic human being that I'm all about me and I'm going to get what I want to get. So I very quickly, 2 women were pregnant within 6-8 months of me being out, on 2 separate sides of the country. I discovered cocaine and crystal meth, and these make you feel like Superman, right? Like, and I just have all this energy. And when you take a drug like that and it releases that dopamine inside of a mind of someone that's already very violent and maniacal, it's such a deadly combination.
No doubt.
I discovered very quickly that why buy the drugs from this guy when I can just follow him home and rob it? What are you going to do? Call the cops? Turns out it's illegal to rob drug dealers. Can't do that. And so I got into robbing drug dealers, and my life was on the line constantly. And then 20 months later, I got charged with 15 more felonies, and I was sent back to prison for another 12 years. And it was a bit different this time. I had these 2 kids, and I wanted to be a better dad. I wanted to be a better human being. My father was nowhere around, so I wanted to be better. And I went back. My youngest son's mother at that point had written me a letter like, go to hell. I'm going to go live my life. I got to raise this son by myself now. Go to hell. And I couldn't even be mad at her, right? So she went and did that. And my oldest son's mother came back into my life and was like, I want you to be a dad. I'm going to bring him up to see you. We're going to visit. I want you to be a part of his life. I'm going to college. I'll wait for you. Be a better man, blah, blah, blah. So we got back into this relationship, and for the first 3 years, everything was going really well. Like, she was bringing the kid up to see me all the time. I was trying to be a better criminal. And
that's funny.
my brother and I had actually, I'd worshipped my brother most of my life. And when I had gotten out when I was 21, that's the first time that he and I had rekindled since I was 12, when he had gotten taken away. And he was literally with me the entire 20 months I was out. And robbing people with me. Like, we were doing everything together. Except he's not cut from that cloth. He's a surface guy. We'd call him a fake gangster. Like, he's just not cut like that. But he's always in that circle trying to be that way. Turns out he had told on me, and that's why I had gotten caught with these charges. That we got arrested at the same time, but I got away, and he told on me and told him who I was, gave my name, gave all that. So I had no chance of fighting these charges. So they gave me another 12 years, and I still forgave him at that point. Now, I had met my oldest son's mother through him, and he was coming up for parole, and I got a letter from him. It was like, bro, we got all these new charges coming, because we had a lot of charges that were still coming. And they stayed my parole decision. I don't know what to do. So I took all the charges for him. I went in there and I said, it was me. I did it all. He was nowhere around. They dropped the charges against him, and he got his parole. And then when he got his parole, he was like, I don't have anywhere to go. I'm going to be homeless. So I called up my oldest son's mother, like, hey, my brother's coming out. He needs a place to stay. He can help you raise Caden, so you don't have to do it all by yourself. He's my brother. You know I worship him, blah, blah, blah. Sure, he can come stay here. And within 30 days, she was pregnant by him. And I snapped, right? Like, I just lost, like, the one person I cherished in this world, the one person I trusted, the family that I was working on, it all just got shattered. And betrayal and all that. So I just gave up. I was like, what the is the point of even trying to be a good person, to live a good life? I don't get to see my son anymore. I don't care. I'm done. So I went and I got very violent at that point. And somebody tried to rob me. So there was a very violent assault, and they sent me to segregation. They took me down. I was gassed, and I had blood and gas all over me, and they were dragging me down this hallway, and they threw me into a cell at the end of the hallway, and I heard a voice said, hey, white boy, come talk to me.
Oh, wow.
And
hence the name of your book.
I cussed it. I got to the door like, F you, man, shut up, stop talking to me, you don't know who I am, but I will kill you, stop talking to me like that. And he still, hey, white boy, come on, man, why are you so mad? Stop talking, man, it's okay, man, it's all we got, man, come down here and talk to me, man, hey, white boy, hey, white boy. And I just refused to talk to him. I would just cuss him out. And so I was in there for about a week, and then I went down to SCC, which is the Security Classification Committee. These are the ones that determine whether or not you're going to stay in segregation. And they said, you know, if that guy dies, you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. As it is now, he's in a coma, and you're going to be in here for about 60 months. We're minimum 60 months. And so I'm like,
wait, so
I just got 5 years in solitary confinement. Like, that's going to suck.
Wow.
But I don't even care, right? Like, I'm just so, I just don't care. I don't care about life. I don't care about anything. Put me in my cell, leave me alone.
What a place.
So they took me back, and as soon as I got in the cell, hey, white boy, what happened, man? And I'm like, God damn, this dude just won't stop. What? Man, what? They got the door. What do you want to talk about, man? What? And he said, why are you so angry? So what the kind of question is that, man? This is what you wanted to ask me this whole time?
That's the question.
That's what are you, a psychologist? What question is that? You know, I'm in the hole. My life sucks. You won't shut up. There's a lot of reasons why I'm angry. And he said, no, man, that's why you're mad. And mad is a surface emotion. Anger runs to your soul. Anger is so much deeper. And I didn't have an answer for that. I'm like, I don't know why I'm so angry. Shut up, leave me alone, you're an idiot. And I went back to pacing in myself. And then I couldn't shake the question. Like, why am I so angry? Because I'm now starting, here comes a little bit of self-awareness. Like, God damn, I am such an angry person. Why am I so angry? I mean, I'm an asshole to the cops. I'm mean to everybody. And I'm like, that's just who I am. That's me. I'm the monster that this place created. But no, why? Why am I so angry? Why? And I'm thinking about it, and then it hit me like, I've been a victim my whole life.
Right.
That's why I'm so angry. Because everything that I've ever tried to love or care about or tried to be nice has hurt me. And so that's why I'm so angry. But I'm so tough, I'm not going to say that. And so I went, what do I have to lose, right? I'm stuck in this cell for 5 years. I'm not going anywhere.
Wow.
This guy's not going to shut up if I don't talk to him. Hey, man, this is why I'm such an angry person. My whole life I've been molested, raped, abused, beaten, violence, blah, blah, blah. I went through the whole rundown. And then he's like, so what? What do you mean, so what? Like, I just dumped my whole life to you, and that's it. That's what I get. And he's like, listen, man, none of us choose to be victims, but every one of us choose to remain victims. Oof. And I'm like, damn. He's like, it's not hurting you now. Nobody's molesting you now. Nobody's raping you now. Nobody's hurting you now. But you're allowing all that to dictate who you are. I'm like, dude, shut up, man. Stop making sense to me. I don't want to hear that. And he sends me over this book, and he has a CO bring it over to me, and I see this book, and it's got this bird on a wire on the cover of it, and I'm like, he's like, read this book, and I'm like, oh great, another prison book, here we go, and it's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and the book literally changed my life. To this day, I tout it's the greatest book ever written. It's the story of Viktor Frankl, who is this super nice Jewish man who has built a beautiful family and a beautiful business, and he just has a great life. And then one day Nazis kick his door in, and they take him and his whole family to Auschwitz, and he watches as his family is exterminated and his friends are experimented on and tortured, and the whole time he is walking around with a positive mindset, trying to inspire people, like, listen, don't let it get to you. They can take this, but they can't take this. When we can no longer control our environment, we are forced to control our thoughts. And then the sentence that stuck out to me the most was, suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it has a purpose. And I thought, shit. Yeah, like, I've taken all the suffering and the abuse that I've gone through in my lifetime, and I use it as an excuse to hurt people, right? What if I took that and I used it as a reason to help people?
Beautiful.
And then I might be able to turn it around, right? And so he sends me over this other book, The Likability Factor, and I start reading this book, and I'm like, dude, you suck. This book sucks. I don't like this. And this book is how to be a likable person. And as I'm going through it, I'm like, I am none of this. I suck. I am not somebody that's worthy of being liked or respected or none of that. Like, I suck at life. I'm done with this. I hate you. I hate this. I'm over. Stop talking to me. And of course, he's like, go ahead and give up, because that's the only way we lose. The only way you lose is when you quit. If you don't quit, you can't lose.
Love that.
There's always an opportunity, right? Every day is a shot. And so I started to go through this metamorphosis of, how do I fix this? How do I, even I know it starts with forgiveness, right? But how do I get forgiveness from people I don't even know who they are? I've robbed people across this country. I couldn't tell you their face, their age, their weight, their height, color. I don't know who you are. How am I ever supposed to get forgiveness from somebody like that? And he said, it's the intention. It doesn't matter if you can't get to them. It's the intention, right? Write it down. So I started to write forgiveness letters, right, to just random people, and then I would he's like, send them over. So I'd send over the letter. He'd send it back, that's bullshit. I'm like, what? He's like, it's just excuses. I'm sorry I robbed you. I was raped. I was abused my whole life. I was a victim. I was hurt, so I didn't know what to do. He's like, you're just making excuses, right? Own that shit. So I went back, and I would pour my soul into these letters. Like, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine what it must be like for a child to come home to his bedroom and see that it's been destroyed, and that the safety and sanctuary of his home has been violated, and like, he's lost faith in his parents to protect him, right? Like, a wife has lost faith in her husband that he can be the protector of their family.
Really thinking about
right? And I'm like, I am so sorry that I caused you that.
Well done. What a responsible position.
And so, but that's where the healing started,
isn't it?
Right? And I'm like,
100%.
I know that if I put this out to the world, that the world is going to receive it.
Yes.
And then it started with me forgiving the people that have done me wrong, right? And so
What did that
it was the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the people that I did wrong, I want you to forgive me. I'm so sorry. And I looked back and I thought, at one point, my uncle was a baby. He was a child who was full of love and never done anything wrong to the world. And he was violated, right? And so I look at that part of him, and that allows me to forgive him, right? And I'm like, you know what? The shit you did, you know what? It's inexcusable, but I'm gonna let that go, right? Because I'm the only one that's hurting from that. You're not hurting from that anymore, just me. Right? And so I'm going to let that go and I'm going to free myself.
I would say he's probably just not aware it's hurting him yet.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that doesn't hurt the soul.
Well, and that helped me so much on my journey, right?
Yeah.
And then I started to realize it's also the way that I portray myself. It's the way that I deal with people. It's the way that I look at life. And I started to be nicer to the COs. And all of a sudden they started being nicer to me.
Lovely.
And I started to write these things down. I started writing and I started talking to myself and imagining who I could become and how I could turn this thing around in my life. And in my mind, I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison. And he's like, dude, you're going to be 35 years old when you get out. That is so, life starts at 40, dude. You've got so much life to live.
I mean, I just can't get past the fact that you had this like earth angel from God that just happened to be there and just was so fueled with like this inspiration to heal you.
Yeah, and we would have been enemies under any other circumstances. So he was a Circle 7 Moabite, which is a branch of Islam. And they hate white people.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And so he, underneath me, we're not friends, my guy. I'm here to give you some knowledge, and if I can help you, maybe you'll help somebody else, and that goes into my karma bank, right?
I mean, I'm just kind of curious, why was he there?
For murder. He'd been there since in 1984, and he was serving natural life. He'll never be out. And so I just think that it was my time. It was his time. He was put there for me for me to come into
Divine
my purpose.
Intervention in such a beautiful way. Wow.
And so we continued. I started to write, and I started to submit these essays to local competitions inside the prison. They have these spoken word contests, and I would submit them, and I started winning these competitions where they're like, man, this is such a heartfelt poem that you wrote. Like, I had the ADW come up and he was like, so you won, but I can't give you the store bag that you won because you're in segregation. You can't have it, but I just wanted you to know you won the competition. I was like, well, that's awesome.
Yeah, sure.
And so the activities coordinator came and he started submitting my spoken word poetry to local libraries.
Nice.
And the local library sent me a letter one day and said, if there's anything we can do for you book-wise, just let us know. We'll let you loan out any books. We know your circumstances and your situation, so it's cleared with them. We can let you use the books. So I started to get even more books, and that I could read, and I started consuming so many books on personal development, self-help, and I started to so good. One day the ADWs came to the door and they said, hey, we've seen the progress that you're making, and the Michigan Department of Corrections is implementing this new program called Thinking for a Change.
Wow.
And we want inmates to teach it. So if you study the course material and agree to teach a class, we'll let you out of the hole.
No way.
And I'm like,
what are the?
I'm literally changing my life from this little cell.
I love it.
And the world around me, I'm having an influence on from. I've never done that in my life, and now from inside the cell, I'm doing it.
So awesome. How empowering. Wow.
Of course, I agreed to it, and here we are. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting out of the hole after 19 months. I was supposed to be there for 5 years, 60 months, and 19-month mark. Here it is. They're going to let me out of the hole to go teach this class. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is such a blessing. Let's go. Let's go. I know I've changed. I know I've done this. So they take me out. They pack my bags. I say goodbye to Mallory Bay, right? Like, hey, later. All right, white boy. I'm like, dude, I hate it when you call me white boy. It's racist. It's mean. He's like, all right, white boy. I'm like, oh, okay. I figured that.
Funny.
So we leave, and then I'm thinking we're going to teach this class, right? Or they're going to take me back to general population. And no, they pivot, and we go to the protective custody unit. They take me to PC. This is the biggest no-no in prison. You don't go to PC, right? It's the bad spot. And especially for somebody like me, I have a very well-known reputation.
It's like where the murderers and like...
No, this is where the rats, the thieves, the sissies, the cops, the
Rapists.
lawyers, the judge, the rapists, the pedophiles, this is where they all are at to keep them safe.
Okay.
And so they take me in here, I'm like, son of a bitch, this is gonna be so bad for me, for my reputation when I get out of here, because I have a reputation as a gangbanger. They find out I'm in PC, they're gonna kill me. Right? So we go in here, I'm in there for a few days acclimating, and then it's time for my first class, and I go down to my first class, and there's 30 people in there, there's 30 inmates to teach this class. And the part of this program is that you have to stand up and you have to announce why you're in prison. And you got to talk about your case. Okay. And there's a confidentiality thing here, you can't talk about it outside of it, but 27 are pedophiles.
No.
Yeah.
The
other three.
You're teaching and presenting to pedophiles.
The other 3 left.
What are the odds?
The other 3 walked out of the class. They're like, I'm not fucking sitting here with these dirty bastards, because some of them are in there for raping babies. And I'm standing there thinking to myself, what kind of sick joke is this? Right? Like, I now have to teach a classroom full of pedophiles how to think differently. And I thought, what would Mallory Bay say to me? What would he say? Like, have you really changed? Because if so, look at them. They were babies once. They were traumatized.
Really, like...
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to teach this class, because if I can stop y'all from doing what you do, that's a bonus.
Yes.
And then I thought about it. This is a perfect opportunity to teach this class. I am the product of what you do to people, right? Some of you are in here because of me. Right? Because I used to hunt them and torture pedophiles in prison.
Is that how you presented it?
Yes. That's what I told them. Some of you know me, right? Some of you did know me, right? And so we're here to change that around, right?
Wow,
and I'm the product of what happens to the kids that you molest, right? Some of them grow up like me. And I'm going to tell you about this. And so I incorporated
that. What was the impact on that? I mean,
I honestly don't know. I mean, over the course of the weeks that we did the program, I felt like they engaged really well.
Did they?
And I felt like it was good. But as soon as it was done, I was out. I don't care.
And ultimately, it's for you. Like you.
I didn't care what it did for them.
But it's kind of cool to you know. Like,
and so
the fact that they're engaging, that's kind of wild.
So I finished the class, and then they let me out, and that's when it got rough, right? Because I went out and okay, I'm out of this gang. I don't want to be part of this gang anymore. And the gangs are like, yeah, no, that's not how it works. You know that. It doesn't work like that.
You're like,
I'm like, well, I'm out.
They don't let you like just move on?
You can't just quit.
Oh.
And it's like, well, you saw what I did for you. Think what I'll do to you. Leave me alone. And it didn't work. I started getting assaulted a lot. That's why I have all these dents in my head. You can't really see them now, but I got stabbed several times. I've been beaten with locks.
Because they want you to stay in their
because you're now being disrespectful. You're dropping your colors.
What's a life?
And so it was about a year, at least once a week, I'm having to get it. I'm getting jumped. I'm getting stabbed. I'm getting beat. And I'm trying my best to just get through it. And I'm like, this is just not working. Right. And I had taken an oath that I wasn't going to be violent anymore. I wasn't going to do that anymore. So I tried to stay to that. But I also knew, experience told me, like, if I don't do something, they're not going to stop.
Wow.
And so I ended up having to really assault one of them pretty badly. But after that, it did stop. And I was able to just focus the rest of my time in prison on teaching guys and meditating, and it was easy, right? I started doing yoga and started teaching yoga in prison. I got 30 convicts out there on the yard and downward facing dog in the yard. It's funny, but we're building, and I made some really good friends from that stretch onward going down through my life. And some of them are still my friends to this day. And so I spent the rest of my time there, was relatively good and easy. And then I got out in 2016, and that's where I really started to take off. I went out with this mindset of, I want to go out and change the world. I know that I want to go do these amazing things and help heal people. But no one can prepare you for what 18 years of pushing the pause button does. Right?
Yeah.
Like when you get out, all of a sudden everybody's got this, everybody's tapping cards in the grocery store, and you're like beep, 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 snap, boom, poop, picture.
Oh my
like,
gosh,
what the fuck? Videos like, stop it.
It's
like,
so foreign to you,
it's so much.
Oversensitized,
Right? Like,
yeah.
oh my God, there's just a lot going on. Can y'all just slow down for a minute? And then the lady, you know, like my first experience of going into the gas station was like, just put the chip in the chip reader. I don't know what chip and what chip reader. The chip on your debit card. There's no chip on a debit card. What do you mean a chip on a debit card? There's nothing on the debit card. It's a card. No, the chip. I understand what you think you're saying, but there's nothing on it. But the chip and the chip reader. I don't know what a chip reader is.
Life skill, yeah.
You feel like a caveman. And so I got lost into my music, right? And so music has always been a savior for me in my life. When I was a kid, I used to hide in the closets and just put the music on. And throughout my time in prison, when I started to drop my level, I was able to get a guitar. I started to teach myself guitar. Nice. And then I started making music. And now that I was out, I really wanted to take a shot at having a music career. And it's the law of manifestation, right? If you want something and you don't recognize any boundaries and you just push for it, it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And so I started working in I was doing demolition for the union in Cleveland at the time, but in my spare time, I had met a buddy of mine, and we had made a band and went and did a show at a place called Music Links in Ohio, in Cleveland. And I met the owner, and then the owner and I became really good friends really quickly, and he's still one of my best friends to this day. He's actually in the book. I've dedicated into the book to him. He owned the club, and I started to work at the club for him. So Denzel Washington said it best: if you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut.
Right.
So I'm in here, I'm working, I'm at the club, working at the club. Then I formed a band, and in 9 days, we built this band. I met these guys. 9 days later, we had a band. 90 days later, we were signed to a label, and we were off doing shows across the country. And I'm like, oh man, here we go. We weren't like this super really technically good band or anything, but we had a good time, and we knew how to make good music that people liked and people enjoyed it. And I mean, we had a massive following. We had people follow us from Ohio to Virginia. We would show up at the venue, and I mean, half the crowd is our locals. Like, wow, okay.
You know, I mean, you really are a testament, Sonny, to like there's this saying, it's like, to the extent you experience the dark, you will experience the light.
Sure.
So like your passion, your capacity to fulfill range of emotions is just on fire. So I can see where in translating that to anything, be it spoken word, right, and music, which are both creative outlets, is going to be explosively delicious, right? There's just a lot in there. It's not like monotone by any means. It's going to have the passion of your journeys,
that's how
outcomes.
it goes next level, right?
Indeed, yeah.
And so, and I mean, there's been so much more. It takes forever to get through it, right? It's a long story, but I ultimately got out of the music game. It wasn't.
Well, how old are you now?
I'm 43 now.
Okay.
And so
nice.
I was in the music game for a few years. COVID hit, so I mean, we weren't really able to do music at that point. I kind of just let go of the music, and I got into YouTube, and I did really good in YouTube. And all throughout COVID, game streaming, YouTubing, it became really good for me. I was making pretty decent money through COVID doing that. But then I realized I wasn't happy. I had a new son. He was 2 years old. This was my chance to be a dad. I loved this kid to death, and I was a better man at this point. I was like, this kid's going to have a rock star life. But I realized, I went and had a Reiki session, actually. I did a podcast. I had a show called The Morning Brew that we did every morning for 2 hours, 5 days a week. And one of my co-hosts was like, oh, you got to try Reiki. It's amazing. I'm like, yeah, I don't buy into the spiritual Reiki crap. Like, I don't do that. Buddhism, I don't,
really?
Singing bowls. I don't do none of that crazy stuff, right? And so I was like, I'll take it. Come on, I'll take my cameras. We'll go give it a shot. And I went and I had this Reiki session, and it was life-changing.
Cool.
Like, this Reiki master, she changed my life. Like, she brought things out. I was like, wow. But one of the things that she really brought forward was, I'm not happy in my life, right? Okay. I'm so grateful for my freedom, and I'm so grateful for the life that I've been given a second chance to live, that I put my own personal happiness to the side, right? I was miserable with the woman that I was with. I just didn't want to, I wasn't going to own that, right? Because I didn't want to disrupt what was here. right? I have a house, I have a beautiful kid, I've got a great social life, everything's fantastic. I'm not going to mess that up, even though her and I, like, we don't talk, I mean, she sleeps out on the couch, I sleep in the bed, I'm on games with my boys all day. I don't even like you as a person, right? You're a very mean-spirited person. I don't like you. I don't want to be with you. And she brought that out of me, and I'm like, wow, you're right. And so I went home and I left her. I was like,
you got a conversation?
I'm done. I was like, I'm not going to do it like a douchebag, right? I'm going to be a stand-up guy. I want you to sit down. I'm not happy in this relationship anymore. I don't want to be with you, and it's over. Mm-hmm. And she reached over and grabbed the candle and she threw it through the window. And then for the next, I don't know, 6 months of my life, it was madness and chaos. That went through the window. She ran down, started destroying the studio. I'm like, oh, I'm out. I'm leaving. She came out, punched me, grabbed my car keys, ran into the house, locked the door, so I'm stuck. It's the middle of December. I've got a pair of shorts on and a hoodie, and it's freezing. I'm like, well, that's fun. No. Call the cops, because I'm not playing around. Let's call the cops. Cops can't get her to give me the keys. Nothing you can do about it. I'm like, this is just madness. And a buddy of mine had seen a post that she put out on Facebook very shortly after, and hit me up and gave me a call and said, you got to get out of there, man. It's not good. He's a singer of a pretty prominent band. And he's like, I got you a plane ticket. Come down to Florida. Just get out of there. Get some space. So I next morning, I went to the airport, flew out, and just started to deal with the next thing you know. I mean, I had 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, was doing good. That channel got hacked, and porn got posted at 3 a.m, so my channel's gone. Everything's kind of falling apart, and I'm like, just breathe. I'm free. I'm okay, right? So I mean, I started to rebuild. I came back. I got a new condo. I got a new car. She destroyed my cars and all that. And I mean, she's going ballistic. I don't get to see my son. None of that. And I'm like, this is just. Was that the right decision? I should have just swallowed. No, it's not. Be happy. Move forward. And then, yeah, I got my booking agent hit me up and said, I got a podcast for you out of England. And you should be on it. I think it's a good podcast. And I did the pre-interview. I jumped on, and this little blonde lady comes on and says, greetings from London. And she's my wife to this day, right? Like, I'm like, hi. Out of all this chaos and madness that's happening, we had this hour-long podcast that was like, I felt it's almost like I met my best friend for the first time. Like, I'm so comfortable and vulnerable telling you everything. And she's half the reason why I'm so comfortable telling my story now, right? Because I felt so comfortable letting this out, and I dumped it all on her, and then we started talking every day for 6-7 hours a day. It was nuts, because I don't have a 5 minutes in my life to do anything, and all of a sudden I got 6-7 hours a day to FaceTime with this lady on phone. And then a few months later, she said, let's go to Palm Springs, and that's how we ended up landing out here. Nice. I let everything go. I had to get away from that crazy life, and I'm like, I'm going to go to Palm Springs. I'm going to go to California. I'm going to leave. I mean, I initially went to Phoenix, and so I drove, and I just left. It's funny, because I got on my motorcycle to leave. I had a motorcycle. I put my stuff on there. I left the rest of my stuff, gave my condo to this homeless kid. And so I put everything on my motorcycle, gave my stuff away. When I got to Cincinnati, I'm like, that's it. I'm going to be free. Here we go. A new life is coming. Into a curb, boom, flip the bike. Bike strands. I'm laying here on the ground like, why? You hate me, don't you? I'm like, what's happening here? Now my bike's trashed. And I took it as a sign of the universe. It was like, don't leave anything. Go get all your stuff and just leave. So I went back, got my car, got my cats, got my stuff, and left. And I got here about 3 years ago, and we built our little business together, our cat cafe, and then I was just inspired to just fully throw myself into my purpose in life, which is being a motivational speaker, writing my book, starting my nonprofit organization to go in and help those kids that might have been in the situation that I'm in, and teach them that it's possible to use your voice to stop your abuse now. You don't have to continue going through the abuse. You can stop it now, and this is what's going to help. Right? When I was that 5-year little boy, I should have ran downstairs screaming my head off that this is happening to me, and my whole life might have been different. I look back at it now, and I would go through it all again for the life that I have now, but that I'm one of the rare cases, and I know that. right? Not everybody's going to have that turnaround. Some people live with this trauma their whole life and end up committing suicide or overdosing, or and you don't have to. Right? You can stop at any moment and let it go.
There's so much hope in that. I can't even thank you enough for saying that.
Yeah, and that's what my life is dedicated to now. Is so whatever you think you've been through or whatever you have been through, you can get through it. I've endured a lot of trauma. And you can get through it. And you can get through it beautifully and smiling and happy, and you deserve so much in life, right? We all are here for a purpose. We all come from love. Yes. We are all vibrational, and it's you deserve to be loved, to be validated, to be wealthy, to be healthy, to live a long, happy, fulfilled life. Every single human being deserves that. Beautiful. And it's a choice. Yes, it's your choice to live it, right?
Yes, yes.
The only purpose in life is to live, right? For us to think that we have some kind of divine purpose puts us, not only does it put us on a pedestal that we can't live up to, but it separates us from everybody else in the world. It puts us in a class that we don't actually belong in, right? None of us came here. You weren't here. God did not have a design for you. You alone. You, out of all of this massive galaxy and billions of people, I've got a plan for you. What if God doesn't know that you exist? What if he just created all this stuff and was like, here you go.
And we get power of choice.
Live.
God gave us power of choice.
Live.
Go
live. The purpose of your life, I created you to live. Go live.
Life.
Right? And for us to think that we have such a high place in his hierarchy that we're like, I have a divine purpose. You know, Sadhguru said it the best, man. I love Sadhguru, listening to him. And the purpose of life is to live. Just take every moment of every day and be grateful for where you're at. Start your day with gratitude.
And that is gratitude. Is a far cry from survive, right? So you're sitting from survive mode, and I can relate being, recovered from addictions and such. It's like, and it's actually a whole nother playing field. The vibration of it, and really living, is so much higher. It's so much more. And stepping into gratitude becomes really easy when you're living.
Sure.
Making the shift from being the victim to taking responsibility and really being able to hone into your forgiveness and share in divine love. It's just so beautiful. It's just absolutely.
And there's something about taking that accountability too, right? Like you take your power back. I've had a lot of people say, I can't believe you're blaming yourself as a 5-year-old for being molested. I'm not blaming myself as a 5-year-old for being molested. Right. I'm taking accountability for my part in it. I could have come down that hallway screaming. That's a choice that I could have made to do. I could have been a little bit braver. I could have had a little more courage. I'm not saying I deserved it. I'm not saying it meant to happen. I'm not blaming the victim. I'm taking accountability because I then take the power out of their hands. And it's on me now. And I can forgive myself because I love the hell out of myself. So me saying, I should have done that, but I didn't. It's okay. I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm over it. The trauma is no longer there. I don't have that trauma to deal with anymore because I took accountability.
Not live in regret or create victimhood.
Right.
Well, they say victimese, it's like a disease, and it spreads, and it's not necessarily where we want. It's not.
The funny part is that living a good life is so easy, and people don't really. The universe wants to provide for you.
I believe.
Right? It just when you try to fight it and tell it what to do, it resists you. Right? So when you wake up every day like, I've got to go make this money. I have to do this. I have to do that. You're not letting the universe do it.
You get
the
to.
Universe
you
wants
get
to do it.
Don't
right.
you? We have
you
choice.
Get to. So you have these people that are like, it's so hard. I can't be happy. I can't do this. I can't do that. You're right. You're telling the universe that you're not allowed to, that you can't do it, because that's your mentality, right? Look at Elon Musk. I don't think Elon Musk is a great human being for all intents and purposes, but this man thinks it's easy to cultivate Mars. That's the mentality you have to have, right? Everybody else looks at that, that's not possible. He's like, no, that's pretty easy. Right. Because there's nothing in this world you can't do. There's nothing in this world that can stop you from anything. You just wake up in gratitude every day.
And that reminds me of like how Einstein's quote, it's like, I'm not smart, I'm just curious. So his whole thing was like, ask questions, be curious. There are no stupid questions, it's just like, ask and you'll get answers. And I think about like how I relate to prayer is really about a conversation with God, talking, right?
Talking to the universe.
And then the listening is really the act of meditation.
Sure.
Really hearing into what are the answers and allowing them to come into you, like you had that, unfortunately, really quiet place you were in where you got to be with yourself for a bit and really ask yourself some questions you were being asked, and then eventually asking yourself, right? It's so key. It's so key in getting to really tap into who you really are, and you're like, it does end up giving me purpose. Like I do end up discovering, like you did, like, and then purpose comes out of that, and that's a really high vibration. It feels great to have some kind of sense of what my purpose is, and then go for it.
Sure.
And like just see where it goes, because it's just amazing.
And I don't want people to think that I'm meaning that you don't have a purpose in life, like your life is purposeless. Live a purposeful life, but that is your purpose. Your purpose is to live a purpose-filled life, right? To be kind, to be compassionate, to be caring. Don't worry about how you're going to do things.
Right.
You put it out to the universe and let the universe worry about the how.
I love that.
You just put it out there and just go live it. Like people have said, like, it's impossible for an ex-convict to do things. I've won congressional awards. I've won Senate awards. I've been Palm Springs Person of the Year.
Nice.
All I do is live my life every day in gratitude. And people ask me a lot, like, how do you ever sleep, man? You do so much stuff, blah, blah, blah. But you don't see how much I fail at, right? Like I fail at so many things. I've started so many projects that just stall out and fail. But I'm not afraid of trying. I'm not worried about the how, right? Like if I feel something, when you have this divine feeling, something from the universe, that means the universe wants to give it to you. The universe is like, ooh, you love that. There's a passion for you and I want you to have that. Go for it.
Yeah.
And then you try it. And if you don't succeed at it, it's because maybe you didn't really want it that much. Right? Maybe you had a goldfish moment where
honestly, like in my experience, sometimes it's just a gateway to the next thing. Like it just guides me to this now. Like volunteer.
It's a stepping stone.
I was like volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club at one point. I love the 11-year-olds. So much fun. Kids are just like so much God. Like it's really energizing for me, and it was rewarding. And so I was so inspired doing the volunteer work. I went to school to be a teacher for children. Nice. And then next thing you know, though, I'm working in Malibu, having a sober house, and then working in treatment and going to school to be a therapist. But like that's the ripple effect for me too. Like allow life to guide you and be inspired. Let your inspiration guide you. And
that's it.
It really it's unlimited possibilities.
There's nothing you can't do in this world.
And it's a co-creative relationship for me. Like it's me and source energy love. Like it's God and like allowing whatever you conceive, the higher power, the universal energy that's like the source of it all, like allowing that guidance with it and asking in it, like leaving that results up to, like you said, really is key, because the minute I start to get caught up in the outcome, that's back into control. That's back into like not allowing that.
Doubt is the biggest killer of dreams, right? The moment you think that something's not going to work, or the moment, and it's even the way that we have pre-programmed our minds to think. Like you'll have a lot of people that say, "Oh man, I hope that check comes this week," right? By saying, "I hope that check comes this week," you're saying that it's not going to come. I hope the check comes this week.
Yeah, language
that
is
means
really key.
I don't think it's actually going to come. I don't believe it's going to come. So I'm putting it out to the world, and I'm praying and wishing and hoping that it will show up, because I don't believe that it will.
Or just trusting in that.
Right. And so if you hope that it's going to come, that means you don't believe that it will. It's not going to come. You can hope until you're blue in the face.
Yeah, I really get that. When since living in recovery, I have found that it's just all of my needs are always taken care of, and I have come to rely on that and trust in that. And then anytime I get insecure, I just remember, like, oh, that's right. Like it may not look like it at this time, and there's some adversity I'm walking through, but I can show up and trust that everything I need is gonna, maybe not everything I think I want, but it's often like what I want isn't always what I need. What isn't even the highest good for me, really.
Sure.
Or the lives that I touch, because that's really important to me today. Like the lives that I get to have an impact on.
It's important what you do, right? And for everything that you do here, I think is just incredible, right? Like
You're so
the way that you help
you.
so many people, and you give them an opportunity. Like this is, you're living your passion, you're living your purpose, and you don't worry about the how. You just live it.
Yeah.
And that you are the epitome of manifestation, right? Like that's what it is.
I do believe
right?
in manifesting. Yeah, I do think that
you just live a sober life, and through you living a sober life and professing what you have learned, you have inspired and taught other people to do the same, and they gravitate towards you. And you didn't just live it and talk about it. You built an environment that's conducive to it, and so that has attracted like-minded people. Look at the lives that you have saved. And you got to imagine that. Like,
thank you.
That's a hero.
Oh, well, I don't know about all that, but I'm doing a small part.
Humility is going to make you want to step in there, but your cape is flowing in the wind, right?
You're such a love. You know, that's how I found you. Is I was on social media, and I'm looking at this video you're doing about you talking about life in Fiji, where you were, and how people there were so trusting. They would just open their doors and let people come and go. I totally relate. I mean, the door is always open here, even in Malibu. She was like always open, and I get that concept, and I love that trust energy vibration. Like, I don't live in fear. I'm gonna, knock on wood.
That's what attracts.
I've not been robbed,
because I've had so many people say that, like, oh, well, you can't leave the doors open here. It's going to bring in people are going to come in and rob you. Well, you just invited people to come in and rob you.
I don't buy into that.
I live in a world that my door stays open no matter what, because only the people that are coming in are people that need something.
And there's my doorbell keeps ringing. I don't know when you people want to come in.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to do is break for a commercial.
Sure.
About a product I think would be very inviting to people.
Yeah.
And we do have a guest here. So you want to come over here for a second, Joel? So I have a friend I met, and I met him actually at the Palm Springs Street Fair.
You're terrific.
So that's Sonny.
You hit a lot of points right on the button.
I appreciate it. Come on in.
I'm
have a seat.
I'm blown away.
You're going to have to kill right here, because I got the camera, and so it's cutting off there. But if you pop in there, you actually be in. I appreciate that, Joel.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think like you.
Is that right?
Never too late, man.
No, it's so amazing, and everything you said, how you think, you just can't think the other way, because it won't happen.
Right.
But when you're thinking and you know, and you don't deviate from that, everything happens. I've been in the middle of miracles like every day since I've actually clicked.
Yeah.
And I don't know what really did it, just kind of everything, and I finally woke up.
Great.
Yeah, we're so predispositioned in our lives to have this thought process that we go through, because we're so used to hearing these colloquialisms that we grow up with, like where it's I hope, like we've all said that most of our life. Man,
you embody hope.
Right?
You are embodying hope.
But what is hope? Right? Like how do we define things? If we learn how the way that we
hear
talk
your story,
to
and it brings hope in ways that.
But what is hope?
I mean, I think
does
just
that
trusting in that, like the unlimited possibilities, is for some people who are not quite on the other side of things yet.
Sure.
That becomes pretty vital.
So I've just started this new workshop that I'm working on hope, and it's how our perception evolves. That's how I've given it an acronym: how our perception evolves.
I like
right?
it.
And that is what hope is, right? Because the way that we see the world and how the evolution of the way that we interpret things happens, that's what hope is. Right? If I want my life to be better, I have to see better. My perception has to be better. I have to see the world as a better place.
Yes.
If I see the world as a better place, the world becomes a better place. And that's what hope is. Hope is the manifestation of something better.
So I have your book here, and I'm going to encourage my clients to do the reading, because I know the book takes you through a workshop experience, and maybe if we're lucky, you can come in one time and,
sure, I would love
and
to
kind
come
of
in
present a little
and
bit
help,
and
but
guide
my
them.
whole goal with
But-
this is that I'm not telling you what to do.
Sure.
I'm telling you what happened to me and what I did.
But isn't there
And
some
if-
action steps then?
Not really.
In the
So
workshop?
many people
just my
involved, and
story.
all that is coming out now.
Right, it's
what you're
more,
talking about,
so
it's like
it's
universal.
it is a
and you
business
just
for me
lived
as
it.
well. So if you want the actionable steps, you can reach out to me, and I will
Okay.
help you with those. But no, that's what my workshops are for. Those are,
Well, there's a
I don't.
So
Yeah.
this is just a
Wait a
cut
minute,
to
there's
this.
a deep connection to sitting here right now that you don't know about, that
well.
you're gonna know in a minute.
Well, we're not. We're gonna talk about this.
Well,
because
it
I
is about
really
that, but it's the beginning of
because
that.
I really have 3 minutes for you to
Oh,
gift,
okay.
and it is centered around this product because I really want to share about this product. So Joel came up with a fountain of youth. This is moringa. Moringa is a plant that is super enriched with vitamins and minerals. It's so enriched that it's probably one of the greatest superfoods actually. And the thing that makes this particular product, because there's probably a lot of different moringa oils, or not even an oil, this is water-based, is that the love that Joel puts into the plants and his crop in India that he has, and the healing vortexes around it, and just the way that you come together with doing it, and the healing vibrations he puts sound vibration bowl sounds on it. And I think the pyramids and all of that, he has pictures of what he does, and it's a living organism, and you're giving it that much love. So I know that comes through with this product.
And I'm gonna thank you for starting it off, because at your show that you had about 9 years ago, I met a lady named Ekaterina that's at your show out in Desert Hot Springs.
Oh yeah, that was One Love Festival. There were about 700 people on my property.
And I met this lady, and met this young lady, and she was crying. She was when you were doing a sound bath there in the living room.
Oh yeah.
Her name is Ekaterina. She's fantastic. She started crying, and I got to know her. And she had a very, very serious illness that she had been diagnosed with.
Which is what?
And so pardon?
What was it? Okay.
She had ovarian something.
Okay.
Okay. And
Hi, baby.
what I did was I actually
She's calming
made
down.
the product, the Fountain of Youth, and Moringa Light Energy for her, that lady that I met. And we did it with the fresh parts of the tree. I didn't know anything about how to do it, but I wanted to help her. At the same time, my best friend came down with the same thing with liver. And I had 2 people that had this debilitating disease, and I didn't know what to do. I actually met a young man, a brilliant healer from northern Iraq, and he gave me a formula. He came to the site. I acquired this square mile of land with frequencies and vortexes that we've been working on ever since, and created a product for her. She took it for a little over 6 months. We went back to the doctor that diagnosed her, who had moved to Nevada, and he re-diagnosed her, and it was completely gone.
Wow.
And that was in the beginning, and I've been
That's
working
really-
with that ever since.
Wow.
And it is unbelievable.
Wow.
It is natural. And what you do is it just makes you feel it. Now, what's happened with me is I'm taking now more of the Fountain of Youth and the other product. We have sister products, which you're going to talk about. And I now see things. I see things in my mind, and things happen that are universal, that are huge. I'm doing a book to put it all in there. But similar to what you're saying, it's all about the belief. If you think a little bit negative, like you say something to yourself that's negative on something that's major, I was shown by God, by Spirit, by the universe, how that works. And when that happened, I don't want to go into it now.
Oh, I loved his story.
But
It's
how
pretty
that
wild.
happened is how you think. And when you think, you can do anything. You can do it, but you have to think that way. If there's a little negativity, it's probably not going to happen.
Well, this
It's
is
how
the
you think
problem that
positive.
people don't understand, is that what we speak is energy and it's vibration, and it has to go somewhere. So when you put an intention out to the universe has to listen.
Yes.
It doesn't have a choice. But every negative thing you put out has to also be resolved.
And there's a ripple
So it
effect.
has to go out. So if you say, I'm going to build this amazing company that's going to do $50 million worth of revenue next week, if I can just get $1,000, you're never going to get
There's
that
a limitation
because you
in
put
that
an if out
sentence.
there.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Right? You put an if out there.
And I look back at my life on these points, major issues. I've done some wonderful, fun things and really good things, I hope, I believe. And every one of them, the one things I didn't do or how they turned out was because of the negative connotation of thought, a belief, not being sure. Like my daughter says, how do you know that you've got the fountain? How do you know, Dad? I said, I know. I know. There is not, I don't know. There isn't.
Matter?
And it's not about money. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it works, and I know. So when you know something, it's going to happen. Like telling the chief, the ball, I want a shot, I want the ball to go in the hole. I got my publishers there and everybody at the tee, and I want it to go into the hole. First I asked just for it to be close. I'm saying, Chief, I want it to go in the hole. They said, shut up, there's no chief there, there's nobody. No, I want it to go in the hole. So they say, get off the tee, hit the ball or something. I said, look, you guys are my guests. So I get up to the tee and I take it back, and the shot this is recent, a few months ago. Straight at the pin, against the wind, an impossible shot. I can't hit it like that. Only a pro can hit it like that. They can't even hit it like that. In the air, and I'm watching it like an out. His one bounce, head over tails right into the hole. But it drops down, and I see the top of the ball. And it drops down and comes up, and it's just past the pin. I can't hit a shot like that anymore. But I said it. They're screaming, but I can't hear it. They're screaming. Everybody on the tee, they can't believe it. Publisher says, if that would have gone in the hole, we'll put it in your book. I said, you're going to put it in the book anyway. He says, why would I do that? He says, because I had a negative thought. As I took it back, I said to myself, not out loud, they're all on the tee. I said, it's 1 in a million. The chief, spirit, God, put it in the hole.
Yeah,
but took it out. Yep. Unless a squirrel pushed it up or something. I don't think squirrels go in the hole. It pushed the ball because it went down and came up. And I'll never forget that moment. I'm getting chills. And I want everyone in the world to understand that.
That's what
that
it
if
is.
you have that little bit, 1 in a million doesn't sound like negativity. But that chief said to this, he said, I'm going to show this guy. Since then, I see meteorites in front of me. Coincidences and things that are happening every day. I'm so happy. I'm so thrilled. That woke me up.
Beautiful thing.
That woke me up. That happened.
So we have people engaging.
Hi,
like
people.
Deborah. Hello, Deborah. Live. Deborah Ann Skinner. She's actually got her podcast show called Spirituality Gone Wild. And she says, hello, my beautiful angels. So yeah, I mean, you know what, I'm happy to share more about Joel's product. You can reach me. He's just redoing his website right now. He has another product that's hemp, 5,000 milligrams, really helps with any kind of body pain, right? And
healing, and it's
a lot of testaments in and around that. Absolutely no holotropic in it, no THC, so it is a safe plant medicine. And honestly, like, moringa is just really one of the biggest superfoods you could possibly ingest. So I'm excited that we get to share about it on the show today.
I'm excited to be working with you, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
And it was a great pleasure to meet you. Very, very.
I had a feeling you two may talk after the show.
Yeah, I think
that something.
we may have a few things to talk about.
I had a feeling, yeah. So, okay, so thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
For just being you and all that you are, and all the inspiration coming out of you. And I just see so many people getting the help they need. And also, like, at this time, I really want to plug that conference coming up that is dedicated to working through sexual trauma. But also, you can go when you're working through physical abuse, emotional, verbal abuse, like any kind of abuse. This particular conference is amazing, and it's good. It's put on by It Happens to Boys Too, which is an organization out here in the Coachella Valley Desert that Carol Teitelbaum and her husband founded. I don't know, the thing I would say is most unique about this particular conference, it's not like most in that it's very creative, and they have a lot of healing circles and things, and the keynote speakers, of which I know you'll be one soon on, are phenomenal. I mean, and engaging, and it's very experiential. For me, anything spiritual is going to be experiential.
No doubt.
And so it's just, yeah. So I wanted to tell you, so it's called, you can look up It Happens to Boys, creativechangeconferences.com. So that's how you would find out more about that conference, and it's happening in February here in the Coachella Valley Desert. You can get tickets, you can get involved, you can be of service there. You can learn more from Carol Teitelbaum, as a therapist locally in our area, and her husband, who's wrote a book himself on his personal recovery in and around this area, in this area of his, his life, and quite an interesting story with like mobster, being a part of the Italian mob gangsters and all that, and then happening.
Oh, got some of those friends.
So yeah, I mean, it's just
Cleveland.
It's just an honor to share some of these stories with you and inspiring interviews with you, so that you can, get the help you need, or continue to grow and continue to get the healing and continue to seek more and to continue to evolve. Because for me, like, evolving, it's like so yummy. That's kind of really where it's at for me. I'm like, I didn't even know, like you were talking, I could hear clearly in your story, like just that shift when you come to know, like, wow, like, this feels so good to be in an evolving, curiosity and an evolving state of being, and curious of what's next for you. And so here's the support. We're making it happen. Feel free to reach out. What is your contact information? People can get
Sonny Von Cleveland. I made it really easy for anybody. You just pop it into Google. It'll direct you.
And they can buy your book on Amazon, as I did, right?
Yeah. And I actually just released my second book as a collaboration effort.
What? Right here.
Yeah, it's called Is Manifesting Bullshit Part 2.
Okay.
The Limit Is You. So go check that out. It's with Cindy Whitteman and 3 other authors. We all did a collaboration effort, and it's a fantastic book. It's from the perspective of 5 different people about manifestation. So it just hit a Amazon bestseller list and a couple other bestseller lists. So,
is that right?
we're doing pretty good with that too. Is Manifesting Bullshit Part 2.
And you can start a workshop with his book just as easy.
HeyWhiteBoy.com. You can go there. You can go to SonnyVonCleveland.com, the VonClevelandFoundation.com, or just Google Sonny Von Cleveland. That's the easiest way to do it.
I hope you take the time to press like and subscribe on my YouTube. Is that how we do it? I'm a pro with podcasts, right? And YouTube. So others can learn more and share, and you can share with friends anytime. So post and share. And just, I don't know, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.